On today's episode of Locked On Pistons podcast, we are joined by friend of the podcast, Bryce Simon, to discuss the Detroit Pistons season through the first quarter of the year, the positives, the negatives, and obviously the big game against the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll discuss all of that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, make sure you guys head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and you'll get a Locked On Pistons daily newsletter with your Locked On Pistons daily podcast, again, every day, Monday through Friday. Also, you guys already have been told enough about the Locked On Pistons Insiders program. I'll tell you guys a little bit about that later as well. Also, head to my private YouTube or my personal YouTube channel at Kook Hill. You get some video breakdowns. We just posted one of Asar Thompson a few days ago, so head over there and check that out. But Bryce, welcome back to the podcast, man. We appreciate it. You guys obviously can find Bryce over on Twitter at Motor City Hoops. You can find his podcast with Omari Sankofa with the Detroit Free Press. And you can also find him with Sam. What is Sam's last name?
Vicini.
Sam Vicini. Bryce, man, you've been a busy man nowadays, man. How you doing?
Yeah. No, things are busy, but I'm glad to be here. I always bring the bobblehead along. You got to get you one of these, Koo.
What is that?
It's a bobblehead of me.
Of you? That you at football? You coach football? Okay,
yeah. So our seniors this year gave all of us coaches a bobblehead for like the end of the year gift or whatever. So we had the end of the year banquet, and all of a sudden they had a gift for all of us. It's like, yo, that place should be doing the bobbleheads for the entire NBA because they were legit. So, no, I am. Here's my question. You're not on Blue Sky yet? What's up? You holding out?
So I am on Blue Sky, but not really on Blue Sky. So like I have an account on there, but I'm not so much on there really yet.
Okay, I was gonna say because I was like just thinking like I'm not following him over there yet. Maybe I'm like so I went and searched and I couldn't find you, so I was just curious. So
no, I have an account over there. The Blue Sky is. I feel like it's not all the way there yet because I've ran into the same problem. I try searching for people and they don't pop up, but they're over there. So I know everyone's starting to move over there. I have an account just in case, but I'm not ready to completely move on from Twitter. I've established too much of a following on Twitter to just give up on it.
No, it makes sense. I essentially copy and paste over on Blue Sky just to, do it a little bit. I ran into it the other day. Someone was like, hey, you need to do this poll. It was something silly about the podcast. And I was like, I can't do it on Blue Sky. Blue Sky doesn't have poll. Like I don't think they have the ability to do a poll yet. So they got some stuff to figure out. We'll see what people do. I think the coolest thing over there is the thing is a little bit smaller right now. So you do get some better interaction. Your feed doesn't get as convoluted with other stuff, but we'll see if it lasts or not.
No, yeah, it's definitely a worthy competitor to Twitter. A lot of people are moving over there, but I'm just going to hope that Twitter gets its act together because I've spent too long trying to build a program
I understand.
over there.
I understand.
All right, so the Pistons have played 22 games. It took us 4 minutes of bantering.
Hey, like we said, we're going to stay on time tonight to keep the executives at Locked On happy. So I can't wait till you get the email of why did you bring that guy back on?
All right, so 22 games into the Pistons season. If you've listened to the podcast for a minute, you guys know that I like evaluating the season in quarters. Every quarter of the year is a decent sample size. I kind of took that from JJ Redick. That was something he always was big on. I kind of took that. I feel like it was a good enough sample size. 20-ish games every single quarter. Feels good. So the Pistons have played 22 games. So in this podcast, I want to discuss the positives and the negatives through the first quarter. So we'll start with the positives, and then we'll move into the negatives, and then we'll also talk about the big game that when you guys listen is probably tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks, which I will be at. Thank you to the Detroit Pistons. But all right, so, Bryce, what do you think positively? What's your biggest positives? Your biggest positive takeaways through the first 22 games of the Detroit Pistons season?
Okay, so I'm going to go away from what I think is the low-hanging fruit of Cade Cunningham, even though I do want to talk about that, or even Jaden Ivey. And I'm just going to say the defense in general. And I know it's not quite as good as what it maybe was through the first 18 or 19 games or whatever. We've seen a little bit of a slip. But, Koo, if you would have told me 12th in defensive rating through 22 games through the first quarter of the season, I would have told you were crazy. If anything, if you told me that this team was 12th in one side of the court and 24th in the other, I would have said the opposite, that the offense was 12th because of the floor spacing and that type of stuff, and the defense was 24th. Nowhere did I think this was a top 20 defense. Shout out JB, shout out the individual improvement of some of these guys, and we haven't even seen Asar Thompson at his best or in full minutes yet.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. If we're going to stay away from specific players, that was where I was going to go. The defense, what JB Bickerstaff, I guess, is kind of a positive takeaway more so about JB Bickerstaff.
Sure.
The fact that JB's been able to get this kind of defensive output from this team, and I think this is probably going to be something I bring up in the negative section, but this was, like you mentioned, this is not a defensive talented roster. This was an offensive talented roster. This was all their resources were put into guys that could shoot threes and score the basketball. They put no resources into defenders outside, maybe you can say, the draft pick of Ron Holland.
Sure.
That really is it. And JB Bickerstaff somehow, like you said, 12th in defensive rating, somehow, some way. And at one point, through a decent chunk of the season, around like 14-ish games, had them 6th in defensive rating. So he has them punching way above their weight class right now. I don't know how he's doing it. He's getting buy-in from Jaden Ivey. He's getting buy-in from Cade Cunningham. I think those two are the biggest reasons for it. The fact that he has Jaden Ivey playing as hard as he is defensively, I think is big. The fact that he has Cade committing more on defense, especially as a weak side rim protector, I think has been really big for them. And then obviously I think Isaiah Stewart has been fantastic in that. And I think Stu has been even better this year than he was last year. But, I mean, you got to give credit to the veterans, too. He has the veterans really fighting. Like, Tobias, there were a few games this year when I came on here, I was like, I got to rip him for his offense. But then he's absolutely working his tail off defensively against Pascal Siakam. I saw him absolutely – look, Giannis had 50 points that one game, but yeah, Tobias was fighting him. Tobias was playing hard. So you're getting these guys who are older and deeper into their careers playing harder for this team. And I don't know how they've done it, but – somehow they're 12th in defense, and that has to be a big, big props to JB Bickerstaff.
Yeah, I mean, you name some of the guys there for sure that deserve that credit. I think I continue to push back, and I don't know, maybe we'll talk about this or not, about some people have thrown out to me like, hey, is it time for Isaiah Stewart to start over Jalen Duren? I'm like, no, please don't, because Isaiah Stewart is finally in the role where the fan base can appreciate him. He's in a role that he can excel in. I think he's in the perfect role. Finally, we have found that from him, although I might at least mention the three-point shooting at some point, him along with a couple others. Tim Hardaway Jr., this is the biggest bet I would have lost. If you would have told me that Tim Hardaway Jr. was going to be tied / leading the league in charges drawn a quarter through the season, I would have told you were crazy, and I will take that bet. I never saw that coming, but I think the improvement of Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey are really the things to write home about here, because that is huge. There's real two-way potential from that backcourt now. And what's even more special is they've gotten better offensively while also taking these bigger loads and assignments on the defensive end. I think that's huge. Like a lot of credit to those two young guys in the backcourt for the way they've bought into this thing.
Yeah, and I think I'll go ahead and take that chance to transition into the other positive takeaway, like you mentioned earlier. The play of Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham has been absolutely big time for them. The biggest question throughout the whole offseason was, can these guys play together? And not only can they play together, can they thrive off of each other? You don't want guys that can just make it work, but they're not really best for each other. Can they actually thrive with each other? And they absolutely have. I mean, the numbers when one of them leaves the floor and leaves one of them away from each other has been staggering. I think maybe that has a little bit to do with the fact that they don't have any other ball handling and no other shot creation. But when you have both of them on the floor, the team's playing well. Jaden Ivey's having the best season of his career. Cade Cunningham's having the best season of his career. They're playing extremely well together offensively. Jaden Ivey's playing exceptional off ball, finding open gaps. He's shooting the ball extremely well from beyond the arc on a decent amount of volume as well. Cade's incorporating a lot of pull-up three-point shooting. He's pretty much eliminated a good chunk of his mid-range pull-ups and kind of traded those for pull-up threes, and he's shooting a good percentage on three this year. In 349 minutes, they have a minus 0.3 net rating, but the team in general has like a minus 1.7 net rating, I believe. So these two guys have played really well. They're playing well together. And by far, again, the biggest question this offseason was, can these guys play together? And so far through a quarter of the year, I mean, you have to feel like, yeah, this is your backcourt of the future. You got to build around these guys.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I always kind of believed in this pairing, and maybe blindly, right? I think a lot of reason why people did not believe in this pairing coming into the season wasn't of people's fault. It's like, based off what we had seen, it hadn't worked. Now, I have my thoughts on why, because I don't think they had been utilized correctly. I don't think we had seen them staggered. I don't think we had seen JI being used with these off-ball movements the way he can be successful with. And obviously there's been growth and improvement as well. Listen, I'm a huge JI guy. I pitched him since he got drafted. I'm a big fan. I think now the question is he your third option? Is he your second option? How good defensively? Like those type of things with JI. I think he's proven through 20 games that he's a part of the future. I want to talk about Cade Cunningham a little bit, because I don't think we should stop commending him for how he's playing. We talked about the defense, the block shots, the rebounding coup, 7 rebounds a game, along with almost 24 points and 9 assists on 38% from three, 81% from the free throw line. This is real growth and improvement. I did a trivia the other day. Only 3 dudes in the NBA average at least 7 rebounds and at least 9 assists. Cade Cunningham's one, LeBron is the other, and Nikola Jokic is the other. Like, that is
Go ahead and say that again. Say that again for everybody in the back. There's only 3 names, and who are they?
7 rebounds and 9 assists. 7 or more rebounds, 9 or more assists. Cade Cunningham, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic. That seems like pretty good company to be in, even if it is just a simple rebound and assist stat.
PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. PrizePicks invented the flex pay, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks now offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Then let me tell you about another one of our sponsors, Game Time. I'm a procrastinator. I wait till the last second with just about everything, and it screws me over when it comes to purchasing tickets. But with Game Time, it absolutely saves me, because Game Time has last-minute deals all the way up to the last minute of the event, and sometimes even after the event has already started. Again, for someone like me, that is absolutely big time. Another big thing for me is I can see the view from my seat from within the app. I don't have to wait till I get to the event to know if I purchased the right tickets, if I got the right seats. I know right within the app before I purchase it whether these seats are for me. You also have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is also covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. No, he's giving. Look, everyone wanted to see Cade. What everyone said about Cade was impact winning. We want to see this translate to wins. We don't want to see empty stats. You're seeing him. I saw a stat the other day. He's towards the top of the NBA in clutch blocks, so he's making it happen on the defensive end at the end of the games. He's at the top of the league in assists. He's 4th in the league last time I checked in assists per game. He's scoring the ball more. He's more active on the glass on both ends of the floor than he ever has been. He's more active, again, like I said, on defense than he ever has been. And the Pistons are winning more than they ever have been. I'm not sure how much better he could be playing. He could be finishing around the rim a lot better. I think we might get to it in the second segment. At least I wanted to bring it up. But overall, this has been the type of step people have been wanting from Cade. I mean, if he was finishing better around the rim right now, we'd be talking about like an all-NBA player at this. Like, he'd be like, that's the jump where that's going to come from. But he's playing exceptional right now. He's leading the team to a lot more wins. And look, we've seen it when he's not playing these games, their offense is just cratered. The offense just, even in the game they won with Jaden Ivey's last second shot, that was more so a testament to the defense, keeping them around to the end of the game and just saying, Jaden Ivey, we've given you a chance to win on one possession, take us home because our offense isn't going to hold up. And he was able to do it. But these two guys have been incredible, and you know how big I am on Cade, man. I love Cade, and I think he's been absolutely fantastic for him this year.
I think the biggest thing to note here is all the offensive improvements for both guys. I'm glad you brought up J.I.'s shooting. We have a pretty good sample now of this guy shooting the ball decent. Like the catch and shoot this year, I don't know what the numbers actually are, but the eye test says it's been awesome. And for his career, he has taken 825 threes and knocked them down at 35%. That's for his career. Like, that's not even like just picking out this season. That's 3 years of his career. Obviously, this year being the best. Like, if you tell me J.I. is a career 35% three-point shooter and a handful percent better on catch and shoot, I think we would take that considering what else he does. But where I was going, trying to be quick, wasn't very quick, was all of that offensive improvement with the defensive improvement. I just didn't think we would see both in one season, and that is what we've seen. I don't know how much time we have left on positives, but I want to make sure Malik Beasley and his floor spacing, his elite level shooting, the only negative about Malik Beasley right now is that's an expiring contract. The fact that Detroit did not get him, and I don't even know that I blame them. I'm not faulting them, but it's going to suck to see him walk away in the offseason, especially if they can't replace him with somebody close to it, because he has been an elite NBA level floor spacer so far this year.
You know what? So I was gonna say, let's wrap up this first segment and get to the next one. But I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go in afterwards. I'll put the ads in myself afterwards. And if we have to cut this up into 2 episodes, then so be it. But because I don't want to chop it up right here, because there are other positives I want to get to. Yeah. So we'll for you guys out there, I'll go through the extra work and give you guys some more content. You guys can clap it up for me a little later. But all right. But you brought up Malik Beasley. You've brought up the 3 names that on yesterday's episode, the last episode I did. The first segment I spent talking about 3 names I really wanted to commend through the first quarter of the year. It was Cade Cunningham, it was Jaden Ivey, and it was Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley has been fantastic. He's been like their best transaction they've done, like as a veteran, since the rebuild really has started. He's been fantastic off the bench. They've needed this kind of guy off the bench who can provide instant scoring, an instant spark off the bench. And like you mentioned, the only only negative to it is the fact that he is expiring. So is there a chance that maybe they move him at the deadline? I personally wouldn't, but do they try to take advantage of the expiring? Maybe. Are they able to get him back in free agency next year? Because he's going to get a bigger payday. He's playing his way into a bigger payday. So are they going to be able to get him back? That's the only negative about it. But so far, he's been like, you can't say enough words about how fantastic he has been for the Detroit Pistons. I thought he'd be good. I didn't think he'd be this good for the Pistons. Like, he's having a career type of year for them.
He's truly in the 6th man of the year conversation. I'm not saying he is the 6th man of the year. There's other guys that are probably more deserving right now that are playing on teams that have more wins and stuff like that. But I don't think you can have the 6th man of the year conversation. If you have a full-fledged conversation about it, I don't think you can have it without at least mentioning Malik Beasley. I know these aren't his numbers solely coming off the bench, but he's averaging 16 a game right now. And here's the thing. The 40% from 3 is awesome, but it's on volume, the 9 attempts a game. And it's just the floor spacing that provides. Like, this is what we all wanted to see off. Even though the offense hasn't been as good, a little bit of what we have seen is, okay, what does this look like with real floor spacing? And it's not even as good as what it can be yet, because again, I think we'll talk about some of the guys who maybe haven't been up to snuff, especially on the offensive end based on expectations. But even the improvement, having an elite floor spacer like Malik, I think it's given us a chance to see what Cade and J.I. can do. And I think that's what's awesome about it. I'm with you. It's going to be a hard deadline decision, because if he plays this way, do you know what contenders would pay up for him? And that's going to be hard for Detroit, because depending on where they're at, the play-in possibilities, the draft pick, like there's a whole lot of calculations that are going to go into this deadline. I think it's going to be more exciting than any other deadline we've had because of all of that stuff, right? Like obviously this is more fun because they're winning, but it's like top 13 protection, play-in, experience, veteran present, floor spacing, contract negotiations. There's so much that goes into this for Trajan Langdon.
So that's something that we're going to eventually have to talk about, is the lottery protected pick. That's going to, at some, right now we'll let it just be positive.
Where are you at? Where are you at with it?
It depends. It depends where you're at the deadline. Like to me, if you're like the 7th seed at the deadline, you have to keep going. You can't punt on that. But if you're like the 11th, 12th seed, I think you have to soft punt, not completely punt, but soft punt on it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Sam actually talked me into it a little bit in terms of the one nice thing about that pick conveying is the protections are now gone, right? Like how many trades have we talked about, Koo, where it's like, well, what year can they actually trade their first round pick? And how many can they trade? Like at least if you convey, it's gone. And if this team does need to go acquire another big time scorer or a 5-man or something like that, then you have all of those assets to do so. I'm not saying they have to. I'm not trying to give up on JD or anything like that. I'm just saying there is, along with the play benefits of playing in the play-in tournament or potentially a playoffs, there's also some versatility is not the right word. Like you have the access to those picks now. It opens up your options a little bit.
You have more freedom.
There you go.
So yeah, that's a conversation that I think we're going to end up having to fully go into at some point. Not now, because again, it's let's have fun now. But you know, it definitely is. It's at some point we're going to have that conversation. But are you ready to get to the negatives through a quarter?
Yeah, I don't think I have anybody else I'm overly worried about giving positives to. So yeah, we can do the negatives.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get on your way to being your best self. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with the family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never goes away, even when the season's starting to change. Again, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. My goodness. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month with BetterHelp. All right, so I'll start off here. I want to see how you feel about what I'm about to say, and then we can bounce off how you're feeling after that.
Okay.
So my first negative is this. The offense is not good enough for how much resources you put into it. They put all of their resources into the offensive end of the floor this offseason. They spent all of their money, all of their freedom, everything. All of their assets were put into, we're going to be better offensively. We're going to be better offensively. We're getting shooters. We're getting scorers. That's what they spent all of their resources doing. And as of right now, last time I checked, my PC is taking forever loading up everything. I don't know what's going on with my PC the last few days. But last I checked, they were around 24th in the NBA offensive rating. So this is my concern. The offense is where you spent your resources and where you were expecting to be good. Defensively, you're punching above your weight class right now. I'm not sure how sustainable this is. Through the first 14-ish games, they were 6th in defense. You're already starting to see it start to revert back to the mean. I think what you're going to start to see happen, and the offense has to respond, or this season I feel like potentially could go awry, is I think the defense is going to slowly start to go to where maybe you expect it to be. I think it'll be better than we expected because JV has been pretty good. But I think it won't be a top 10 defense. I'd be shocked if it remains top 10. I think it maybe starts to fall a little closer to the back half of the league. And if the offense doesn't start to revert back to where you wanted it to be, it's going to be a struggle. You're going to end up seeing the Pistons season go sideways quickly. Because again, this team is not a defensive roster. We're giving all the credit in the world to JB for getting this out of their defense, but this is not a defense you should be betting on being this good all year. They don't have, I mean, maybe with the Sarr back, maybe that's the one caveat. Maybe with the Sarr back, he just warps everything once he's able to play full-time minutes. But look, they don't have great defenders all over the place. What they have is a lot of offense. And if the offense is going to continue to struggle how it is, it's hard for me to picture them going on that win streak that gets them back to 500, that gets them back to above 500. Eventually, they need their offense to come through. I don't think their defense is going to continue to be as good as the Cleveland Cavaliers defense with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Hopefully it can at least stay in the top 20. Like if it stays in that middle third, I think that would be a huge success. I know people don't love to hear that, like you said, because at one point it was as high as 6, but I think that's above expectations and probably a little more realistic. Unless, like you said, unless Sarr really is like unreal and you can figure out how to play Ron Holland minutes, you know, with his offensive struggles and all of that also. So you almost, I think what we're getting to here is you need 2 top 20 sides of the court, right? You got to get the offense into the top 20, top 18 while the defense doesn't fall too far. So my first one was going to be the vet floor spacing outside of Malik Beasley. Like that's been a disappointment. Tobias is at 31%, Fontecchio's at 34%, and that's been rising recently. And quite honestly, Isaiah Stewart at 21%. And more importantly, less than 1 attempt per game. I've said it multiple times. I didn't sit through 4 years of Isaiah Stewart offensive development to see then in year 5. I realized last night, I think he's the only player that was on this team when I first started watching Pistons game. That was the first draft, right? That was Killian, Sadiq, and Stu. I think he's the only player left. So we haven't sit through 4 years of, is he a 4-man? Should he space the floor? Is he this? Is he that? To finally see him start to space the floor, and then revert back to not doing it at all. So, like, if he was shooting 4 a game, shooting 21%, it would be a different conversation. But that's a little too much on Stu. In general, the floor spacing from those veteran guys, I think, has been an issue because you have some non-floor spacers in Jalen Duren, Ron Holland, and Sarr, although Sarr's jumper does look a little bit more fluid. I think it shows progress in what we've seen thus far.
Yeah, his jump shot looks a lot better, but you need more of a sample size before we start, freaking out or anything. But I completely agree with what you're saying. I've spent a lot of time talking about the floor spacing from the vets that you brought in. Malik is shooting great, but I'm completely with you in the whole Isaiah Stewart thing. Everyone did not sit through watching him have to, going through all those angry discussions and arguments about him for him to finally get there and then just say, screw it, we don't need it. Like I get that JB has said that he wants his impact rolling to the rim, and he is having his best season so far of his career as a roller to the basket. And there actually was a few plays in the last game, not this Sixers game, but the game they won against Indiana, where you kind of see how that opens up something. He rolled to the basket and completely opened up a shot for someone in the opposite corner. I believe it was Malik Beasley. That doesn't happen if he pops to the 3-point line. I get it. But like you mentioned, we spent way too long developing the outside shot for them not to utilize it at all. So I completely agree with you there. And Tobias Harris, I think overall has probably been a disappointment to this point. He's been good some games. He has some things that he has brought to the table that has been fine. But the 3-point shooting being as bad as it was, and how bad the corner 3-point shooting was for a lot of the first quarter of the year, and it's picked up as of late, but it was truly horrific through the first 12-ish games of the year. That's been rough. So Tobias needs to get needs to play better. I think he will, but I completely agree. I think the veterans floor spacing outside of Malik, and I think THJ served his job as well.
Yeah.
But the rest of the guys need to shoot a lot better for sure.
The hard thing with THJ right now is I continue to watch Quentin Grimes play.
He's starting to pick it up lately. He's starting to pick it up.
And this isn't going to be THJ's fault. I get frustrated sometimes whenever we blame a player for a general manager decision. Don't be mad at THJ, be mad at Trajan Langdon. And listen, I'm not trying, I think Trajan has done a good job so far. It's shown, right? We hired JB, we'll see. But I find it a little bit hard because I thought Grimes was maybe Troy's best decision
He probably was.
right. I mean, he didn't mess up the Cade pick, I guess. But I think you knew THJ was going to be streaky. Like, that is THJ. So, but I think what he's brought defensively, especially with the charges and stuff like that, I think he's done everything you could have asked and expected. We can grade that and evaluate that in a different prism. If we want to talk about the Grimes THJ thing, it's some of the other guys. Like, Tobias is shooting the worst from three since 2016. So almost 10 years, he has shot better than this. And my thing with Tobias was, I don't care what Tobias did in the playoffs. I don't care that Tobias was bad in the playoffs, because the Pistons ain't going to the playoffs. If they are, we'll evaluate it then. Like, if they make it there, then so be it. And that's a huge jump. I just wanted last year regular season Tobias, and unfortunately we haven't even got that offensively so far.
Yeah, and look, I think Tobias could be much better than this. Like you just mentioned, this is like his worst season in a few years. But I think his leadership and culture has been really welcomed by the team in the locker room. It's been big for him. So even with that, he has provided some things. But there is another negative I wanted to ask you about. You touched it a little bit in the first segment. You didn't go too far into it. You just briefly touched on it. I think the play of Jalen Duren is going to welcome uncomfortable conversations, because, like you mentioned in the first segment, there has been a lot of talk about starting Isaiah Stewart, but I completely agree with you, which is why you're in this tough position. I feel like, if you're the Pistons, where you finally have Stu in the position where everyone universally agrees that he's impacting the game, which is the backup five. If you have to close them, you have to close them, like that kind of thing. You have to play on more minutes. Okay, go ahead and do so. But everyone welcomes the fact that he's the backup five. He's providing value. The problem is that Jalen Duren, I would say, I don't know if you disagree, but Jalen Duren probably has been disappointing to start this year for me. And the only option that you really have, you don't have another option outside of, okay, we'll bench him for Stu. But then if you do that, you're kind of putting Stu in a bad position, because that's not really what him at. So you're kind of in this position where you have to keep playing Jalen Duren, even though his inconsistencies is hurting the team. And then along with that, like you mentioned, with the whole lottery protection thing, if you're really trying to go for this play-in, I mean, I don't know if you agree. I think you probably will. I think the quickest way to doing that, just get a starting level center. And
sure,
that would completely change everything. Like, you get a starting center, and this team probably is like, what? They're 9-13. They're probably like 4 wins better instantly with like a starting level center that can provide defense. And then you have Stu coming off the bench like that. It would be like that instantly. If fans truly wanted to make that push, that would be the easiest way. Just quick, easy as that. But do you really want to go that direction? Do you want to give up on a 21-year-old already? And then in the same spot, I mean, we saw a rumor earlier today that maybe Stu gets traded at the deadline, that he's a name watching. Do you want to give up Stu, who's finally developed, just so you can move Duren back up to a backup position to get a starting center? Like, it's a very tough situation, an awkward situation to discuss, because Jalen Duren hasn't been, I would say, as good as you'd like to see him be this season.
How good would this team be? Now, I realize he got hurt, but think if they would have spent, I don't know, $30 million on Isaiah Hartenstein this offseason and brought him in. I would not have done that. And I love Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he is awesome. I watched that Rockets game today. I know the Rockets got the win, but Hart was awesome in that game. I'm excited to see how him and Chet look. I think it's funny. Nobody talks about Isaiah Stewart until they start talking about their team trading for a big. And then all of a sudden they want to talk about Isaiah Stewart. Like, nobody wants to say he's good until it comes down to a trade for a big man. And then all of a sudden he's good to all of these people. Here's my thing. And listen, I will admit, my appetite for this team not winning 35 games, I think, is easier than a lot of people's. I'm cool if it's still 28 or something like that. I think that's growth. I think that's progress. I would be a hypocrite if I said take Jalen Duren out of the starting lineup, because before the season, I said the most important questions that had to be answered were Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. You have to know what those guys are, because their contract extensions, conversations at least, come up this offseason. You have to know. I'm going to make Jalen Duren play. I think Tuesday night is going to be fascinating, because if people remember, he got cooked by Brook Lopez in the first matchup. And so if we see Jalen Duren nonchalantly getting back on transition defense, not closing out, not able to handle the pick and pop, I think that speaks more volumes than anything else we've seen this year. So I think you continue to run him out there, Koo, and it's a little bit trial by fire. Let's see if you can grow, young man. It's time to do that.
So Brook Lopez's numbers against Jalen Duren: 20.3 points a game, 8.8 rebounds. He shoots 48% from deep on 5 attempts. So that's his numbers against that's his numbers against Jalen Duren. So look, JD shouted out the podcast. So I appreciate it, man. Like, I appreciate him shouting out the podcast, but I have to be honest. And the thing is that he's talented offensively. He has a lot of potential offensively. The problem is that the team's offense isn't where it needs to be for that to make up for it. Like, he hasn't been good enough offensively, and they haven't really utilized him in a way offensively to make up for his lack of defense. And I do think that he has improved somewhat as an interior defender. At least he's shown more flashes of an interior defender. The problem is anytime he goes against a center that has any kind of ball skills or any kind of offensive skills, they've worked him so far this year. And a lot of it comes down to his ability just not to guard in space. He can't really guard in space so far. And, I mean, a lot of it does also come down to the fact that he just has mental lapses. And he just, he lacks effort at times defensively. So, look, I've said all throughout the offseason that the deadline is probably where you're going to see decisions made on players. It looks like Jaden Ivey is passing with flying colors. But Jalen Duren, I mean, that's the position right there. It's going to be tough because do you want to move on from a 21-year-old already at this point? I don't know. But do you want to get better? Like, because that would be the quickest way to get better. Like, I don't know. And that is the end to the first part of our episode with Bryce Simon. The second part to this episode should already be posted up. So go ahead and head over to the second part of this episode, either on YouTube or on podcast platforms. It will already be posted up. I'll see you guys over there. But thank you guys for listening to this first part. Appreciate all of you guys. Thank you for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. But again, head over to that second part. I'll see you guys there. Stay safe out there. Until then, peace out.